In 1975, a young boy named Mike watched two wrestlers competing. Up next is his turn. He then joined the match, limping, his hands curled and shaky. He had cerebral palsy. His father puts a protector over his head. The audience whispered as they saw him walking like that, and some made fun of him. His coach encourages him, telling him that he needs to show the world that he can wrestle. Then, after a friendly handshake, the match begins. His father and another man cheered for him as he wrestled with another boy his age. He lost the first round. In the third, as he tried to unhook the fingers of the boy who had his arms wrapped around him, the boy lifted him and threw him to the ground, breaking his arm. His father, shocked, ran toward him and picked him up to take him to the hospital. 10 years later, Mike was grown up. He went to a physiotherapy center to train his hands to unfold. He struggles to keep up, but his trainer relentlessly encourages him to keep going. He reminds him he can't give up now, and Mike manages to keep going and finishes. When they finished, Mike hugged him and thanked him for what he had done for him. His trainer warns that he will come find him if he doesn't visit. Before leaving, he asked a girl who was rehabbing her ankle after an accident how it was. She told him she'd be better in a week, and he told her to be careful in the future. Mike then saw another boy training on a stationary bike, and he had flashbacks of his father teaching him how to ride a bike without training wheels. He fell many times, and his father asked if they should go back to the training wheels, but despite falling repeatedly, Mike refused. Finally, he managed to ride without falling. The next day, Mike started his first day at a new school. He went to register for classes, and the woman at the desk looked at him and told him these were regular senior classes. She pointed to another table and told him to speak with Mrs. Freud, saying registration for special education was there. Mike replied that he was a senior and wanted to attend regular classes. The woman stood and led him to Mrs. Freud. She told her that Mike was a senior and needed help with his schedule, then returned to her desk. Mrs. Freud smiled at him and asked for his papers, but Mike walked away. He went to talk to the principal. The principal noticed he was new and asked about it. Mike said he had just moved from Kansas. The principal asked if he had registered yet, and Mike told him he was having trouble registering for classes because the senior advisor didn't want to change his schedule. She tried to place him in special education. The principal read through the list of courses. Some of them are algebra, biology, and English. The principal gets startled when he sees one of them weightlifting. He told Mike he would be excused from physical education due to his cerebral palsy, but Mike insisted. He said he wrestled. He asks if he really wrestles, and Mike tells him he used to because he likes the challenges. The principal told him if he could handle it, he could register. He handed Mike a note to give to the senior advisor. When Mike returned with the note and gave it to the advisor, he tells her not to underestimate him. She then smiled and told him she'd see him in class. Mike then went to the gym for weightlifting. He then goes up to do pull-ups. He starts working out. While there, he saw a boy struggling with the weights and helped him lift them off. The boy thanks him, and Mike introduces himself. Seeing the way he talks, the boy assumed he was high at first. Then he looks at his hands and realizes his mistake. He quickly apologized. The boy introduced himself as Jeff, and they started talking. When Mike asked what he was training for, Jeff said he was trying to lose weight for wrestling. Mike made a joke about him struggling with the weights. Mike told him he was also trying to get into wrestling. He said he used to wrestle back in grade 3, but now, since it is his last year, he wants to join the wrestling team. Jeff tells him he is trying to get a scholarship through wrestling because that is the only way he can get into college. Mike wishes him good luck, and Jeff walks out, wishing the same for Mike. Back at home, Mike watched a wrestling show enthusiastically. He cheered for the winner with excitement. The next morning, his father drove him to school. As Mike was about to get out of the car, his father asked what his first class was. Mike told him it was weightlifting. His father, surprised there was such a class, kept asking, and Mike got out of the car laughing. He went to the gym for his first class. As he walked, students murmured, commenting on the way he walked. Coach Warren entered. He orders them to gather around. He welcomed the class and told them if they had enrolled just to skip calculus, they should quit because his class would be tough. Also, if they took the class to not be seen as weak and to act strong and tough on others, they better think again. He warned them that training was no joke and there would be no exceptions. He ordered them to get changed, and they did. They sat on the floor as Coach Warren explained their first exercise. The first exercise is endurance, and he is going to see how much strength they have. He then demonstrated their first workout. As he is running on the stairs, he trips and falls, making them laugh, but he uses that to teach them a lesson about getting up when they fall. When he finished, they began training. He encouraged them as they struggled. Seeing Mike having trouble with the stairs, Warren told him he could run the perimeter instead, but Mike said he could handle it and took the stairs. After that, he went to class and took a seat in the front. As he turned to pass a paper to the girl behind him, she smiled at him. The teacher welcomed them to world literature. For the first time, they will learn about the craft of poems. She explained the course and told them each student would write a poem by the end of the term. After class, the same girl, Patty, stood by the lockers with her friend. Her friend is telling her about a girl she's having a fight with because she tried to hit on her boyfriend. Patty keeps glancing at Mike, who is standing by his locker. He looked back, and they exchanged smiles. As he passed by, Patty's friend made fun of him. Later in the cafeteria, Mike sat alone. Jeff, sitting with his friends, looks at him but doesn't do anything. Another boy got in carrying his tray and made fun of Mike before sitting in front of Jeff. After lunch, he went to class but kept zoning out, remembering his father teaching him math. His father used waffles to teach him about integrals. Mike struggles to understand, but his father, not giving up, keeps explaining until Mike understands. He then tells him his brain is capable as much as everyone's and they are going to train that. After class, Mike left the building to go home. As he was walking, he ran into 3 students. One of them, Troy, began bullying him and calling him names. Troy mocks him, asking if he was going to take the short bus, but Mike retaliates, telling him he doesn't want to take his seat. Troy pushes him and keeps calling him names again. Mike got angry at this. Troy was about to strike him when Jeff, watching from a distance, ran over and tackled Troy. Jeff followed Mike, who had stormed off. He found him crying on the stairs and tried to comfort him. He apologizes on behalf of Troy, but Mike wants to be left alone. Jeff, ignoring his request, dragged him to the gym, telling him he needed to start training. He put him on the treadmill, but Mike struggled. Jeff encouraged him, saying he believed in him and that training was the path to wrestling. They also did aerobics together. Jeff keeps hyping him up, telling him that he is great. At home, Mike works out on a stationary bike, following exercises on TV. The next day, he went to the library and saw Patty sitting alone. He walked toward her, but when he saw her friends approaching, he stopped and sat elsewhere. Later, he went to the gym to train. Coach Warren guided him through the equipment, showing him how everything worked. He sits next to him as he lifts weights with his legs. Mike asked when the wrestling tryouts would be. Warren said they were about a week away. Mike told him he planned to try out, but Warren was skeptical and told him wrestling required serious agility. He recommended bowling instead. Mike insisted on trying and asked for one chance. Warren agreed to give him a fair chance. He added 40 pounds to the weight Mike was lifting and announced that Mike would earn a shot at wrestling if he could lift it. Mike struggled at first. Others began mocking him. Warren asked if he needed help, but Mike refused and pushed through on his own. Mike and Jeff began training for wrestling. As they are on the tracks, running, Mike sees 2 girls passing and starts walking towards them to talk to them, but Jeff grabs him from behind, stopping him. Mike keeps saying that they want to talk to him, but he refuses to let him go. One day, while sitting on the ground after practice, Jeff admitted he had already made the team but was anxious. He was afraid he wouldn't impress the college scouts, wouldn't get into college, and would end up working in his father's garage for life. Later, Mike saw Patty by the lockers. This time, he approached her and said hello. They talked about how boring the classes were. When she asked where he ate lunch, he told her the cafeteria. She joked that he was brave and warned him about the food. They laughed before parting ways. Mike then returned to the gym for the final wrestling team tryouts. He wrestled against Troy. Troy mocked him, but Warren warned him to stop. They wrestled, and Troy won. Coach Warren tells Mike it was a nice try and helps him get up from the ground. Warren announced there were 3 remaining spots on the team and listed the names of those who made it. Mike wasn't among them. Afterward, Warren called Mike over and said there was always a spot open for a team manager. He asked if Mike wanted it, but Mike declined and walked away. At home, Mike practiced saying Patty's name without stuttering. He rehearsed asking her to the movies and tried calling her, but he couldn't work up the courage to dial. The next morning, frustrated, Mike tried to straighten his arm and unfold his fingers. He knocked things off a shelf and screamed. His father rushed in, asking if he was okay. Mike yells, telling him that he doesn't want to be like this anymore. Seeing him like that, his father tried to calm him, saying he understood how frustrating it must be. But Mike snapped, saying he would never understand because it wasn't happening to him. His father kept trying to encourage him. He said feeling sorry for himself wouldn't help. Mike tells him he is trying not to. He sat in front of Mike and asked what happened. He guessed Mike had tried something and got angry when he failed. He reminded him that he is not alone and told him people don't always get what they want in life. Mike then tells him that he was trying to prove something. When asked what it was, Mike told him he tried out for the wrestling team but didn't make it. He just made a fool of himself. That's why he was angry. He explained how badly he wanted to join. His father said Mike could impress anyone with his brain and hugged him. The next day, Coach Warren is giving trainings. Mike gets in and walks towards Coach Warren. Warren asked why he was late. Mike said he had driving practice. He then asked if Warren still needed help with management. Warren warned that the job was serious and hard and asked if he was ready. Mike said he was. Warren announced that Mike was the new team manager. When the training starts, Coach Warren and Mike demonstrate their first activity. Troy keeps making fun of him, and Warren calls Troy to demonstrate with him again. Then later, as Warren is teaching Mike and training him, he sees Patty and her friends walking by. Mike turns away so he won't be seen, but Warren tells him there is nothing to be embarrassed about because what he is doing is for himself, not for them. He doesn't need to impress anyone. He encourages him to focus and start again. Warren then asks how the cerebral palsy happened to him. Mike then starts to explain how everything happened. While he was in the womb, the umbilical cord got wrapped around his throat. His mother was left in labor for a long time and didn't get enough oxygen to the brain. When Warren asks if it is going to get worse, Mike tells him it is not a disease and it will get better as time goes by, especially through exercise. To show him he understands, Warren then starts telling him a story of his own. He told him he was once like him in school. He used to think that if he got into the football team, he would be successful in many aspects. So he tried to get into the football team but couldn't because of his asthma. They talk about how not everything in life can be achieved, and Warren encourages him, telling him that he already finished the race of coming to life. Later, the students go out to play football. Jeff and Mike were among them. Troy, ever the bully, keeps making fun of Mike. Shortly after the wrestling match begins, Jeff is the first person to start, but among the wrestlers, one of them, Johnson, is missing. He can't be found anywhere. Mike then asks to replace Johnson because the team can't afford to forfeit. Warren tells him there's no way he can wrestle the next guy because of his physique and strength, but Mike insists. Troy argues that letting Mike play is the same as forfeiting, but Warren, warning him, tells Mike to get ready. He warns Mike that if he gets hurt, it's on him, and Mike agrees. He goes to get ready. As he is dressing up, Jeff manages to win the match. When he comes back, Warren tells Mike the man is strong and warns him to be careful. He repeatedly tells him to focus and to not let his opponent manipulate him. Then Mike goes to the mat to start the match. From the audience, a couple of girls rooted for Mike. After a friendly handshake, the match begins. Mike keeps falling whenever he is pushed. Then finally, the other person wins the round. When he gets off the mat, Warren waits for him, concerned. He tells him he did well and asks if he's okay, and Mike confirms. He tells him they should get water, and they walk out. Later that night, Jeff goes to Mike's house. He tells him that he was good during the earlier match. Despite losing, Mike is just excited that he got to be on the wrestling mat. Jeff mentions there will be a next time, and Mike starts to tell him how much energy he has inside him. As they are talking about that, Mike's father shows up. He greets Jeff, and Jeff mentions how good Mike was during wrestling. Mike tries to brush it off, saying Jeff is a wrestler, and he was the one wrestling earlier. But Jeff, not reading the room, keeps going, saying that Mike is also a wrestler and that he had wrestled earlier. Mike's father confronts him, asking if he is wrestling or not. Mike admits he is, and his father scolds him for not running this by him first. He then storms out of the kitchen. Mike yells from behind, asking what difference it'd make if he had told him. Later, in Mike's room, Jeff asks Mike why his father is so against wrestling, but Mike is determined not to quit this time. Jeff jokes about how hard it would be to tell his father that, but Mike believes that he will come around. Jeff asks why he wants to wrestle this much. Mike tells him he likes the challenge and wants to be included. He wants to be treated the same as all the others. Jeff tells him that he wants to wrestle just to get a scholarship in college. Mike wants to prove to his father and everybody that he can do it. Then Mike gets on the stationary bike to work out while Jeff goes through his stuff. He then stumbles upon Mike's diary, and inside, he finds Patty's number. He tells him he knows her since they were kids, and asks how he got her number. Mike tells him Patty herself gave it to him, but he doesn't believe him. Jeff then calls the number and gives the phone to Mike, telling him to set him up with Patty. Mike asks if he can talk to Patty and introduces himself, but the other person gets confused and asks if he is drunk. Jeff laughs and tells Mike it's Alcoholics Anonymous. Jeff then turns serious and asks if he really believes that Patty is into him. Mike tells him that he's only interested in her, and she sees him differently too. Jeff says he is just trying to look out for him because he is his friend. Shortly after, Jeff leaves, telling Mike he needs to study for his Spanish test. The next day at school, Patty's friend tells her that she promised her boyfriend she would have lunch with him, so she can't eat with her. Patty says it's okay, and walks alone and stumbles upon Mike. After greetings, they start talking about the exam. Patty is nervous about it, and Mike encourages her, telling her that it is not going to be that hard. Patty jokes, saying that it would be good if she could have his brain for exams. When he asks about lunch, she tells him she is going home for lunch because her friend ditched her. Then Mike offers to go to lunch with her. Patty then tells him she can take him to her favorite place, and they walk together. As they walk, he invites her to come see him wrestle, but Patty thinks wrestling is too violent. It is not her thing. Meanwhile, Mike's father goes to visit Coach Warren. Coach Warren tells him that Mike is his brightest student. After sitting down, Coach Warren asks about Mike's grades. Mike's father tells him they are good as long as he focuses on his studies and not on wrestling. Sensing the tension, Coach Warren tries to explain that extracurricular activities are actually useful because they are helping Mike interact with his teammates and more. But Mike's father points out his son's disability. He tells Coach Warren of the incident when Mike was a kid when he broke his collarbone during wrestling. Mike is doing this to prove to himself that he can do it. He just wants his son to graduate and find his way in the world. Coach Warren tells him that he also wants the same thing for him, but he needs to deal with the issues that are holding him back. Coach Warren keeps explaining how Mike can use his potential. Mike doesn't see his disability as a hindrance. Coach Warren thinks Mike is stronger because of that, and if Mike takes this energy, harnesses it, and turns it towards himself instead of attempting to prove himself to everyone around him, He would achieve whatever he wants. After hearing all this, Mike's father shares that he is worried that his son would get hurt if he can't achieve what he wants to achieve. Coach Warren tells him that what he thought of Mike at first was proved wrong by Mike. He asks Mike's father to let him be, and finally he manages to convince him, but he warns that if something happens to Mike, it'll be on Coach Warren. Later in the gym, Jeff and Mike train together. Jeff makes lighthearted comments, joking with Mike. During pull-ups, Mike tells Jeff he had lunch with Patty. Jeff asks how it was, and Mike tells him he really likes her. She is sweet and lovely. He's going to ask her out. Jeff wishes him good luck, and they continue their training. During rope climbing, Mike struggles to help climb up, and Jeff encourages him, telling him what to do to push himself up. But suddenly, Jeff slips and falls, injuring himself badly. Mike goes to visit him in the hospital. He is wrapped in bandages and a neck brace. Jeff tells Mike he can't feel his legs, and the doctor said he has spinal trauma. He can go back to normal with physiotherapy, but he can't wrestle. Mike tries to comfort him, telling him they'll fix it, but Jeff says he doesn't want to be handicapped like him. Mike, hurt by this statement, leaves the room, telling him to let him know if he wants anything. 3 months later, Jeff, now in a wheelchair, is in a physiotherapy class. He attempts to walk, but he can't, and falls. Mike walks in and sees this. He jokes about him falling and helps him up. He then tells him to use his brain instead of his muscles. He helps him train, attempting to encourage him with words. He reminds him of his scholarship, and they get into a friendly fight. By the end of the semester, the students write a poem as they were told to do. Patty is the first one to read her poem. Then Mike is the next one. Mike tells the class that his poem is about a friend who was injured recently. The title is Broken Wings, and he reads the poem. When he is done, the students applaud. Patty tells him good job when he goes back to his seat. Later that night, Mike gathers his courage and calls the number Patty gave him. They go out, and after that, Patty drives him back. In the car, he asks her if he can call her sometime. She tells him he can, but he needs to know they're just friends. Despite getting hurt by this, Mike simply tells her they can play air hockey sometime and gets out of the car. The next day, the wrestling team heads out for another match. Mike turns and sees his father in the audience. He loses that round, but Coach Warren hypes him like always. Back home, Mike's father tells him he's done with wrestling. Mike yells at him, saying he is the only one who is ashamed of him, and his father slaps him. Mike tackles him, throwing him onto the couch. Mike's father jokes, asking why he didn't do that in the match, and they laugh about it. Then Mike asks to let him finish this year. His father allows him to participate, telling him he only has 6 weeks. After this, Mike starts training with Jeff, remembering all the times he lost. The next day in the gym, Coach Warren gathers everyone to tell them the final match is approaching. Their opponent is very strong. He gives a motivational speech to encourage them. He then asks if there are any volunteers to take Jeff's spot. Mike volunteers, but Coach Warren keeps asking. Troy, Ortega, and Mike are then ordered to wrestle to take Jeff's spot. Mike and Troy start the wrestling first. Mike's father steps in and sees Mike wrestling. Mike keeps having flashbacks of the wrestling match from when he was a kid, when he was injured. Troy is a powerful opponent, but Mike manages to throw him off. He finally wins. His father smiles and leaves the gym. Coach Warren congratulates him as the others applaud. The next morning, Mike's father wakes him up and tells him to come to the garage. When Mike comes in, his father gives him a new bike. He then tells him they are now going to start training for wrestling. They go out with Mike riding his bike and his father jogging. After racing, they stop to catch their breath. His father apologizes for slapping him the other day. He also tells him that he saw him win and that he's proud of him. They embrace. Mike then goes to the physiotherapy class to see Jeff train. Jeff manages to walk the track, and everyone congratulates him. The trainer then asks Mike if he wants to work there part-time, and Mike excitedly agrees. After that, Mike starts training and eating to reach his target weight. He also joins the wrestling team during lunch, even getting along with Troy. Jeff also gets better and starts wrestling training with Mike. During the student awards, Coach Warren gives a speech about how Mike made him a better person and encouraged everyone. He then calls him to the stage and gives him the award. Mike also gives a speech of encouragement, and everyone applauds. Later that night, at a high school party, Mike sees Patty, but Jeff asks her to dance. Mike then walks toward them and asks if he can interrupt and takes Patty. They compliment each other's looks, and she asks if they could watch a movie together. The next day, Jeff sees Mike working out and tells him he has improved since the first day he saw him. He then tells him he'll ask Coach to put Mike in instead of him. Mike then steps into the final match, having flashbacks of the people who believed in him. The match begins. Mike's opponent proves to be strong, but Mike is also strong. Mike falls, and as his opponent is on top of him, Mike manages to turn the tide and pulls him to the ground. But once again, he falls. It doesn't take long for him to recover and push his opponent, but finally when he falls hard. His opponent keeps taunting him, he keeps telling him to stay down, but Mike keeps getting back up. Finally, the opponent manages to pin him to the ground and get the points he needs to win. Mike loses, but when the referee announces the winner, Mike's opponent raises Mike's hand, appreciating him for the good opponent he was.